The Big 12 has been one of the best conferences in college basketball for a while now, and this season looks no different. So in today's video, I wanted to give my updated Big 12 college basketball rankings as we head into the conference play portion of the season. So I'll be going from number 16 to number 1 on where I think each of these teams will finish in the Big 12 conference standings. But before we get into the rankings, if you enjoy the content, please consider dropping a like on the video and subscribing to the channel. And now, let's jump into it. And to start us off, I have Utah checking in at the number 16 spot, so they're sliding back from my preseason ranking of 14 after an uneven 8-5 non-conference start. This is clearly a rebuilding Utes team under first-year head coach Alex Jensen, and the early metrics reflect that reality. Utah currently owns the lowest-rated defense in the Big 12, and their resume took a major hit with a damaging loss to Cal Poly, which is the worst non-conference defeat in the entire league. There have been flashes, including a 101-point offensive outburst against Eastern Washington and a quality win over Ole Miss, but consistency has been non-existent for this team, and KenPom projects Utah to lose every Big 12 game, which sets the tone entering conference play, and then they'll host an unbeaten Arizona team to open the league slate, which is the toughest game they could have to start conference play. At number 15, I have Arizona State, which is exactly where a lot of people may have expected, though the path here has been bumpy. And for me, they were ranked 16th in the preseason, and now the Sun Devils are 9-4 and have stumbled into conference play after a disappointing home loss to Oregon State. And that setback overshadowed what was otherwise a decent non-conference stretch, honestly, which was highlighted by a strong showing in Maui and wins over Texas and Oklahoma. And offensively, Arizona State has enough punch, but the defense has been the biggest concern for me, with 8 opponents reaching at least 75 points in their game. And that vulnerability could be exposed quickly in the Big 12 as the Sun Devils open conference play with road trips to BYU, Arizona, and Houston in their first 5 games. And if the defense issue persists even more, Arizona State could struggle to climb from the conference basement, and that's exactly where I think they'll be this year. Colorado enters Big 12 play ranked number 14 for me, and honestly I was going to have them higher, but recently the Buffs have been struggling. They're currently 10-3 overall and are carrying a 2-game losing streak into conference play and have fallen down to number 84 in KenPom, which was punctuated by a shocking loss to Northern Colorado, which is their first loss against that program since 1936. An early non-conference win suggested real improvement from last season's disastrous league run, but the resume really lacks a defining victory so far. But still, Colorado has shown progress compared to a year ago, and the talent level appears to be improved. And their conference opener at Arizona State feels like a pivotal game, which would be a chance to stabilize or spiral even further. And how the Buffs respond early may determine whether this season becomes a true turnaround or another uphill climb. West Virginia lands at number 13 for me still, which is exactly where I had them in the preseason, and the Mountaineers' 9-4 record tells only part of the story. Transfer guard Honor Huff has been a bright spot for them, averaging over 17 points per game, but beyond that, substance has been limited for the Mountaineers. West Virginia played the easiest non-conference schedule in the Big 12, and it produced little resume value outside of a win over Pitt. And with their 4th head coach in 4 seasons, stability under first-year coach Ross Hodge appears to be the priority rather than the results, and I think KenPom projects it well, as nearly all league wins will come at home for the Mountaineers, which makes their opening matchup against Iowa State especially daunting, and this season feels more like laying the groundwork than climbing the Big 12 standings. Cincinnati checks in at my number 12 spot, which is a steep drop from the number 8 ranking I gave them in the preseason, but their 8-5 non-conference record raised some familiar concerns for me. Defensively, the Bearcats remain elite, among the best in the entire conference, but offensively, they rank dead last and it's not even close, and that imbalance has defined the Wes Miller era with Cincinnati, and with no NCAA tournament appearances to show for it, the pressure is mounting for him. And the reinstatement of last year's leading scorer Jizzle James, though, could be a turning point after he returned to the starting lineup late in non-conference play. But Cincinnati has battled through a tough schedule so far, but the losses like Eastern Michigan loom large for them, and how the offense evolves in league play will determine whether this team stabilizes or continues sliding even further down the standings. TCU is next and comes in at number 11 for me, and they remain one of the league's toughest evaluations so far. The Horned Frogs own impressive wins over Florida and Wisconsin already this year, but they also suffered some head-scratching losses that muddy their resume right now. Sophomore forward David Punch, though, has been a stabilizing force for the Horned Frogs, averaging roughly 14 points and 8 rebounds while scoring in double figures in 8 straight games. And under Jamie Dixon, TCU has proven it can win in March, but this year's early Big 12 schedule is unforgiving Thanksgiving, and if the version that beat elite competition shows up, TCU could be better than this ranking, but if the inconsistency persists, the standings could get away from them quickly, and conference play will reveal which identity is real for them. Kansas State is the first team in the top 10 for me at number 10, and once again, this team feels like they're going to be defined by streaks like they were last year. The Wildcats are currently 9-4 and riding momentum behind guard PJ Haggerty, who's averaging nearly 23 points per game and carrying the offense. And when K-State is clicking, it looks dangerous, evidenced by wins over Creighton and Cal, but the 4-game losing streak during non-conference play exposed some depth concerns for me, and this team mirrors last season's volatility, only with less overall talent, honestly, and the early Big 12 slate offers no relief for the Wildcats, with top-tier matchups looming immediately, and if Haggerty continues producing and help emerges around him, Kansas State can hang in the middle tier, I believe, but otherwise, those swings could continue all season long, and they could miss out on the NCAA tournament. UCF jumps up to number 9 in my rankings after being ranked at number 12 in the preseason for me, and they had an impressive 11-1 non-conference run. The Knights built a manageable schedule and capitalized on it, winning 10 straight and picking up a massive road victory at Texas A&M, which is a place that they struggled mightily a year ago, and that win alone reshaped their resume and gave them confidence heading into Big 12 play. And the question now is sustainability. January brings a brutal stretch with Kansas, Arizona, Iowa State, and Texas Tech all on the schedule, and they start immediately with Kansas in their first game of Big 12 play. But if UCF can steal 1 or 2 early league games, an NCAA tournament run is firmly in play, but if not, this hot start may simply buy them some margin rather than momentum heading into conference. Next is Oklahoma State, who is one of my biggest risers from my preseason rankings to now at number 8, and they started the year with a 12-1 record in the non-conference, and while the Cowboys haven't faced an overwhelming slate so far, they've done exactly what good teams should do, which is win consistently, as their only loss comes to their rival in-state, Oklahoma, and this is OSU's best non-conference win total since the 2013-14 season, and is a major step forward in Steve Lutz's second season, but the true test arrives immediately with early road games at Texas Tech and Iowa State, and if Oklahoma State can remain competitive in those matchups, surpassing its projected league win total feels likely to me, and they have depth, confidence, and continuity that has fueled the start so far, and now we'll see if they can prove it translates to win against some of the Big 12's elite competition. Baylor lands at number 7 again for me, just like they were in the preseason, and they're powered by one of the most explosive offenses in the country. Cameron Carr and Tunde Yesufu headline a backcourt that's produced multiple 100-point performances, including 3 straight heading into conference play, but the defensive lapses and roster uncertainty linger for me, and Baylor surrendered 81 points to San Diego State and lost its only true road test at Memphis, which does raise some questions about their ceiling, and injuries and availability have been huge for the Bears, including the looming role of James Najee, which just adds another variable to the team, and the Bears open Big 12 play with a gauntlet featuring Iowa State, Houston, Kansas, and Texas Tech, and if Baylor holds serve early, the offense alone can carry them upward, but if not, this ranking may prove to be generous, and I think they're still just in that middle tier of the conference. Kansas checks in at my number 6, but the path here has been anything but straightforward. The Jayhawks have navigated the toughest non-conference schedule in the Big 12 and largely without freshman guard Darian Peterson, whose injury has left major questions entering league play for the Jayhawks. But despite that, Kansas owns wins over Tennessee and NC State and ranks number 7 nationally in adjusted defensive efficiency on KenPom. And offensively though, they've lagged behind, sitting outside the top 50, which is a clear area where Peterson's return could be transformative for the team, but an early matchup in January with Iowa State looms large, but if Kansas can get healthy and get Peterson back, this team's ceiling remains championship level, and I truly believe that, but without Darren Peterson, the margin for error shrinks considerably for the Jayhawks. I have Texas Tech next at number 5, despite owning one of the best wins in the country at Duke, which just goes to show how loaded the Big 12 conference is. But the Red Raiders are 4-3 against top 100 KenPom teams so far, and they feature reigning player of the year JT Toppin, but the depth remains a real concern for me. Christian Anderson's emergence in his sophomore year has helped relieve some of the offensive pressure, yet projections still have Tech losing 4 of its first 7 Big 12 games according to KenPom, just because of the depth of this conference conference, and the non-conference resume for them though is solid, but it's not dominant, and that Purdue blowout still lingers, and Texas Tech is dangerous on any given night, but sustaining success across the grind of Big 12 play will require more consistency beyond just its stars. BYU comes in at my number 4 spot, which is a few spots back from my preseason ranking of number 2, but they've had a dominant 12-1 non-conference run, with their only loss coming to UConn. But they are led by AJ Dubbance's 23.1 points per game and supported by elite shooting and interior presence around him, and the Cougars boast one of the league's highest ceilings in my opinion. However, slow starts to games have been a theme, including a massive halftime deficit against Clemson. However, they did come back from that one, but BYU's upgraded non-conference slate this year has prepared them better for Big 12 play, I believe, and a late January Big Monday showdown with Arizona could carry major implications as we get later on into the season. But they have had some injuries that have tested their depth, but the talent remains abundant for this BYU team, and if the Cougars sharpen their early game execution, a Big 12 title run is firmly within reach, and I think they even have Final Four potential. Houston comes in at number 3, and in the preseason they were my number 1 team, but they still remain one of the safest bets in the conference. The Cougars are 12-1 on the year, with their only loss coming by 3 points to Tennessee, and they've quietly ramped up offensively, averaging nearly 89 points over their last 4 games. And under the radar though doesn't mean underwhelming, as Houston has won the Big 12 2 straight years, and they haven't lost in over a month. True freshman guard Kingston Flemings continues to grow night in and night out, adding another dimension to their depth, and road games at Texas Tech and BYU will come, but early conference play sets up favorably for Houston, and this team feels built for February and March and could win the Big 12 yet again. At number 2, I have the Iowa State Cyclones, who enter Big 12 play undefeated at 13-0 so far, and the Cyclones own arguably the best win in the country when they demolished the then number 1 ranked Purdue Boilermakers on the road and have dominated nearly every opponent by double digits so far. They're currently ranked 3rd in the AP poll, and this is the program's most complete team under TJ Otzelberger, and early league games at Baylor and Kansas will test the perfection that they've had so far, but the projections I have for them still favor a deep run, not only in conference play but also in the NCAA tournament. And Iowa State hasn't entered Big 12 play unbeaten since the 2021-22 season, and that season ended in a Sweet 16, and for me, this team looks even better. And at the top of my Big 12 rankings, I have to go with the Arizona Wildcats to claim my number 1 spot, as they own the nation's best non-conference resume. The Wildcats are 13-0, have beaten 5 ranked teams already, and are riding their most dominant stretch in recent memory. Arizona has won 7 straight games by at least 20 points and could realistically start Big 12 play and the season at 20-0 before a late January test at BYU. And honestly, it looks like they should be predicted to win just about every game they have upcoming with how good this team has played. Jaden Bradley, Koa Pete, and the rest of the core looks amazing to start the year, and honestly, their conference schedule isn't loaded until the back end, and Arizona has positioned itself perfectly, and until proven otherwise, they are the clear Big 12 favorite in my opinion. But that wraps it up for today's video. Let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on my Big 12 rankings heading into conference play. Was there a team that you thought I ranked way too high or way too low? Also, if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.